Well, howdy ho, good neighbor. Today we're flying high above Napa, California. That's right, the land of wine and money. But also in Napa, they have crime and punishment. So today we are at the new Napa Jail. That's correct. If you've done the time and you've done the crime, well, this is where you're going to go. To the new Napa Jail in Napa County, California. It's just on the outskirts of town here, and right next to a golf course and a rock quarry, believe it or not. Now, back in the day, they would march these guys right to the rock quarry and make them chop big rocks into smaller rocks. And you would have to work while you were in the pen, as they say. And you can see right there that they do have a pen for you to get your outside time. So it looks to me, as I have never been inside a prison, thank God, that those are individual cells, or blocks as they call them in prison. And you stay in a prison cell, but you're in a block. So each one of those is a block. Now that in the middle there has to be the cafeteria and all the intaking and all the office workers, but it looks to me there's a cage right there at the bottom of your screen that's another block. So each place that there's a cage, I do believe that's where the prisoners will be housed in their cells. Now, this location is brand new and it has yet to open, so this is the only reason I could fly my drone this close. Now, if I was to fly my drone this close while the prison was open, well, I do believe that it would get shot down, and there was probably something on my drone that would not let me fly this close. But for now, I was able to get a sky-high view of this thing, so I just want to say that if you've ever done your time in prison, well, it doesn't look like fun to me, but I've actually been doing inspections at jails before, and they don't make them work like they used to. In the old days, you had chain gangs, and, well, I do believe when you got out of jail, you didn't want to come back, but I've actually heard of prisoners getting out of jail and realizing they just can't adjust to society, so they do more crimes and end up right back in jail. Now, I'm not saying jail is easy, but it's definitely easier nowadays compared to the old days where you used to have to break rocks into little rocks and do physical labor. Now, I'm sure there's still jobs. I've heard making license plate and even fighting fires. But if you ever want to go to jail and figure out what job to have, well, you might appreciate your job a little more, because I'm sure it pays a little more. And some people would call this slave labor, to have prisoners work while they're in jail. But the prisoners, I'm sure, want to get out of their cells, because if you ever had yourself with no work, no comforts of home, you would get really tired of sitting in a cell, and you'd want to go work for slave wages, as they say. Any kind of work is good work, and hopefully one day you'll never be in here, and I'll never be in here, but I do believe in hard labor as you earn your way out of jail. I don't believe you should be able to sit in jail. And nowadays, they've actually smuggled in cell phones. I had a friend that was, well, I wouldn't call him a friend, but he was a friend of a friend that was making calls out of the jail on a cell phone. So it is true what they say. You can practically get anything you want right there in a jail cell, but it will cost you. Now, I don't know how they get a cell phone in there. It must be some kind of inside job, but I'm sure the new prisoners here are going to have a hard time getting anything past these guys. But it looks like that crate is open to the sky, so you don't know if somebody can shoot something in there or fly a drone over. But I do believe that the drones will not be able to fly this close when this jail is open, because they might have some kind of geomatic engineering that says, yeah, there's a drone detected, or maybe they can just zap it out of the sky. There are drone killers. I've actually seen millionaires shoot a drone out of the sky with the nets. So if you fly this high, you might be okay, but you get down any lower to drop off any weapons or drugs, yeah, you will get shot down, I do believe. So that's a look at the new Napa Jail. And just imagine all the money it costs to build a jail. And then they say that we make money, or the state, I should take that back. The state makes money for each prisoner. So the more we lock them up, the more the state makes. So you think there's an incentive to lock people up? I do. But you can't get locked up if you don't do the crime. So you're not just in there for nothing. They don't just lock innocent people up. But although some people have been innocent and have been convicted unfairly, but even most of the people in there know that they're all in there for something they did wrong. So you can see the top of those cages have some kind of wiring over it, so they still get some fresh air, but I don't think you can throw anything in there. That wiring looks pretty small. So I don't know if they're gonna open this year, because they're so close but so far. You know, when you get this point on of a job, you can almost guarantee that everybody's almost done, but it just takes a long time. And right next to the jail, well, this is where you go after you get out of jail. This is a little minimum security where they kind of introduce you back into society. So this is, you do your time and then you get out and you go to this building, and that's where they reentry you into society. So if you think you just get out of jail and walk right back on the streets, a lot of places they have a building right next door that lets you kind of get trained, trained for what you're about to witness on the outside world with all the freedoms. And you can see here that they're paving a brand new street to the jail. So that makes me think, when they start putting down asphalt like that, they are getting close. So the jail is close, but no cigar. So we'll keep a good eye on this Napa County Jail. And they're going to move all their prisoners from the downtown jail to this jail. So Napa does have a jail now, but it won't be downtown for long. they're going to move all their jails to this spot. And right next to the jail is this, believe it or not, a state hospital. This is where they used to lock the crazy people up. And that's what's wrong with our society now, is we just let the crazies run the streets, and a lot of them are homeless because they don't know how to take care of themselves. So this is surrounded by fencing too, like a big, all that acre, all that you see is all state hospital. And a lot of these buildings are abandoned because, well, back in the 80s, we closed a lot of these hospitals and we quit funding them, and that's why we've got so many crazy people sleeping on the street. And I use that word kind of loosey-goosey. They're not really crazy, they're just mentally impaired. And right next to the mental hospital, I don't know if you can call it that anymore, I don't know the right term, is all this rebar. And they have this rebar field. And this field is filled with rebar. Does that make any sense? But all these people are making forms for buildings. Now, I didn't see a lot of guys out there this day, but I did see them there a few days ago, where you can see that these are future buildings, and they're going to be sticking that rebar somewhere into the ground or on the top of a high-rise. But you don't really know how much rebar goes into a building until you see it all here in a field. And there's a good shot of the big column that they got to make. Just think of all the freeways and overpasses. Almost everything you use is steel. That's that high tension cabling that they do, stress cables through the concrete. So steel is a big deal here in America. So don't steal the steel. And that's what's going on here in this yard. But it is always busy here. There's always trucks moving in and out with these big columns. And they go to locations all over the bay, I would imagine. But there you go. There's a good example of a truck filled up with rebar. So rebar's in about everything. They must make the rebar somewhere else and truck it in here, because look at all those truck beds filled up, ready to be pulled out to the next job. So I think that's what happens here, is they make it, the forms, and they bend it and they ship it. So if you're building a building in the bay with rebar, well, there's a good chance it came from right here from Napa Valley. So that's just one little look at the new Napa Jail. There's one of those boats. There's one of those ships coming in now. Ships? There's one of those trucks. That's the right word. It's a ship, truck, boat combination. So like I said, there's always activity here. People moving around and taking that stuff from town to town. So next time you see some steel driving down the road around here in Napa, it probably came from this field. All right, well, this video's been a little of everything. A field of steel, a mental hospital, and now you get to finish it up with a rock quarry. That's right, all these hills behind the jail are getting mined for quarry. Well, as always, I want to thank you again for coming along with me on these new Napa Jail adventures. That's right, the new jail in Napa County. And I don't know how long that abandoned building will be there, but it's got to go soon. Well, as always, I want to thank you again for coming along with me on these new Napa Jail adventures. You know the drill. Peace, love, and all that hippie jazz. Bye-bye, everybody.